Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. We're out on another field trip today. We've been driving by a place out here in south of us for a while, and I've always wanted to stop, so today we're going to stop. It's the Prairie Museum. It's just north of Holdridge, Nebraska. So today we got the time, so I wanted to stop and check it out. Here we are, the Nebraska Prairie Museum. See if it's a cool place. They've got some cool stuff just outside out here. Got an old caboose. They don't see those around too much anymore, and that one's a great specimen right there, along with some old railroad crossing stuff. Got like an old guard tower out there. It says POW on the side. I wonder if it commemorates prisoners of war or something like that. Got an old schoolhouse here. Don't know if you can tour the insides of them, but got the old merry-go-round thing here that spins around. The spinning wheel of death. They call these out in California. They've got them all locked down now or taken out. And then a nice windmill here. And then it's kind of a period farmhouse here. Really neat. Sorry about the wind. And a nice old church, including with the bell and everything up there. Let's go in the big museum part and look around. Right inside the front door, they have this cool little gift shop here. Got one of the old scales. Pretty neat. Some stuff they have on sale here. Some arrowheads and trinkets. Some books. And then we got the scoop on the prisoner of war thing. I guess a lot of the German prisoners of war during World War II were brought to the Midwest to farm and stuff like that. And it happened right outside of town here in Holdridge. But the curator said there's not much left of the old prisoner camp, just kind of a chimney out in the middle of nowhere. They repurposed all the buildings and everything, but we may pick up one of these books while we're here because you know how I love history. But let's go through the rest of the place. Looks like there's a lot to see. There's a giant turkey here right inside the front door. That it was taken in 1999. Old phonograph, Victrolas. Library where you can come look at stuff and maybe check out books. I'm not sure. Lots of artifacts in here, dolls. Even have an upstairs we got to go through. But looks like an old county courtroom. Kind of a model of one. Some old wooden toys. Pretty handy craftsman put these together. Looks like every town has kind of a little cubby in here. So this is the Bertrand display here. That's a neat idea. The town must come in and kind of put these together, or somebody. Some old glass. This glass is available all around Nebraska and all the old auctions. I'm sure you've seen the stuff. There's the big prairie schooners up there. Like a big 20 mule team. Here's the town of Loomis, which is southwest of here a little bit. This is their little booth. Love that old lamp. town called Funk Mustangs. Look at that neat old tool chest with the tools in it. Carpenter's tool chest. Quite an artifact there. Old pedal organ. Atlanta. Don't know where Atlanta is, but I know it's nearby. Not Atlanta, Georgia. It's Atlanta, Nebraska. Got all these shelving here in the middle with different stuff. I'm going kind of fast because this is a big, big place. Bunch of cool old toys and stuff and displays. Now this is kind of a replica of an old sod hut that people used to build these here in Nebraska. They were called soddies, and the walls were made out of sod bricks. This is kind of a faux representation here, but the walls were actually that thick, and you'd be surprised how comfortable they were inside, even in the dead of winter. And on the roof would be grass. It'd be kind of like a living roof on top. And they would just frame in old windows and stuff as they were building the sod house. This is what they looked like inside. Pretty fair representation of what they used to look like. Old butter churn. Here's an old bedroom set up, complete with the antique furniture, the little wardrobe and everything. Kind of a living area or entertaining area, what it might have looked like back in the day. Everybody dressed a lot better back in the day. Now everybody wears sweatpants and pajamas around town. This was representation of a dining room. They have the countertop pump with the handle that goes out to the side instead of to the rear. So you could use it on the counter. Nice old wood stove. Lady's got her apron on, feeding her little kid here. Wallpaper was crazy back in the day. Super cool. They have meetings and such here, and they host different meetings and parties and such. Got a little coffee area here. Nice place to hang out. They've got the old parlors, ice cream parlor signs and stuff here. Old mural up there from somewhere. No town is complete without the fire department. Don't know if this was an actual Holdridge fire department. It appears that it was. That's cool. American LaFrance. Well known for their fire engines back in the day. Boy, that's beautiful. Like it's got a midship pump on it. Got a lot of the old fire stuff. I remember we had one of these laying around out in our shed in the fire department, the old respirators. Sirens and straight pipes. There's the old fire jackets up there. All the old Holdridge Fire Department stuff. These are used for fire extinguishing. They had chemicals in them where you would throw that into a fire, the glass would break. I think one of the substances was carbon tetrachloride, I believe, and it would put the fire out. This old medical stuff. Super cool. Got a little bank set up in here. This is what the banks looked like back in the day, just the little windows. Even got the banker in here. Pictures of local buildings. Got the eye doctor. All the old eye equipment too. Another courthouse. They even got the old safe from the old county building. All local stuff appears to be. They've kept the local history alive. There's the old hotline over there. Got the judge over here. First photocopy machine. Actually took pictures of stuff. Got the paint store. Wallpaper and paints. The old general store. This is what the old general stores used to look like. Had the old potbelly stove. Everything was in metal tins. The old cash register is beautiful. And lots of this stuff is from the area, from the actual old stores that were here. The old flour sacks up there, seed sacks. A lot of stuff used to come in the barrels. Old coffee grinder down there for grinding the coffee. Got a scale over there for bulk goods. Phelps County Creamery. You'd come bring your cream into town in these little cream cans, and they would separate the cream with the cream separator over there. Sell the cream and the milk and the buttermilk and all that. Got just about all the equipment in here you need. Photography studio. Lots of old cameras. Even got pictures of local residents in here. Here's an old protector that used candles. Lots and lots of old cameras. This is what the old newspapers, the old town newspapers used to look like this with the old printing press. They have the typesetter benches over here. What's cool is you can actually walk into these displays and actually look at everything up close. Here's all the old typeset stuff. All of the individual words used to have to be put in individually. All the letters and numbers and all that with these little plates. Some of the stuff was pre-printed up. And you just kind of put it all together. Here's where they would stack the plates. Put all your wording together. You can see they had the little plates, the little spacer plates and all that. And then once you got that put all together, you'd put it in your press. And you'd press out all your papers one by one. Here's an old screw type press. And then a duplicator. You would just turn that. Here's another press plate that was put together. Pretty neat how they used to do that. Here's the hospital set up here. Got a little baby carriage. A little bassinet. Got all the old hospital equipment in here. An old x-ray machine. One of your first x-ray machines. The old doctor's bag. Doc Pete. Must have been a local guy. The old oxygen tanks. There's the nurse. I love the old nurses' hats. Can't tell who's a nurse anymore. They all just wear scrubs. Got pictures of the old doctors that were around. Old medicine cabinet. Tuberculosis respiratory thing there. Got the Longhorn Saloon. Playing cards on the table. Got the old player piano. Bartender. And the lady of the evening over there. Look at that old black dress with all the stuff with it. The shoes, the gloves, everything. This was the dressmaker's place. Seamstress shop. And the theater. Look at that old beauty. Old projector. Used in the Wilcox Theater. Wherever that was. Got the ticket machine here and everything. Very cool. Here's the barber shop. Complete with a shoe shine guy there. Don't have enough barber shops anymore around. And now here's where all the ladies would go, to the beauty shop. Get the old heated curlers over there with all the wires. Isn't that wild? And then over there, those things, I think they'd wrap the hair around those little heated dowels. You'd sit there in the chair and it would make your curls. It was like a giant curling iron. The old sporting goods store. Got the history of all the old stuff here locally. Get everything you needed for sporting goods here. The old land office. Looks to be an old safe there. Got surveying equipment and old maps. Got the old county maps from around here, Phelps County. Looks like an old train depot bench, two-sided. Some old railroad tools. Got a big panoramic picture of Holdridge Rail Yard. That's a gym. Little railroad says start train. Let's see if it goes. By Joe, it does. Even got Amtrak. That's a neat display. Now I just noticed that there's a train up above that goes all the way around the top. And it says start train. Let's see what this button does. Well, look at that. Got an Amtrak. Goes all the way around the room. Got a little town over there and everything. That's neat. Here's a bunch of old model trains. Pretty large scale stuff. Look at the old junker car here with all the metal on it. That's neat. And then somebody built a scale model of Holdridge, Nebraska here. Isn't that cool? Got the whole town. Even got some corn growing down here, the baseball diamonds. Got a little lake, got a little underpass that goes underneath the railroad. Lumber yard, water tower, the old elevator. They've even got things numbered where you can try to pick out different things in town. That is neat. Then over here we have the Railway Express office, Western Union, and all the parcels and stuff coming in. People waiting to get on the train. An old luggage cart from the railroad, complete with luggage on it. It's the Gentleman's Mercantile, however you want to say it. You can buy your hats and your clothes, jackets, watches, ties. Here's the cobbler store, which cobblers are shoe and boot people that do repairs and make them brand new as well. They got the old leather sewing machine here. Got a TV station. K-Holt, or K-H-O-L, must have been the local station. They even have pictures with the local guys with their names on their shirts and stuff. That's neat. Look at this old monitor outfit there. That's cool. Here's your old video board. You could go to different cameras. They've got a trophy room. Bears and all kinds of stuff. Armadillo. Don't like seeing those around at night. A mule deer. Bears. Looks like somebody's hunting cabin here with all the different weapons. Another bear. Some more different setups here in this part of the building. Here's an old kitchen setup. This is an old dumbwaiter that they would have in multi-story buildings. There would be a shaft that this would go into, and there was a pulley with a cable system, and you could raise and lower meals and other things to different floors in the building. This whole thing would run up and down like a big tube. Pretty sweet. Cream separator again. Like an old mud porch setup. Whoop, somebody's in the bathtub. Taking a bubble bath. A lot of houses in Nebraska had this cool old wooden casework. Somebody doing the wash. Another kitchen setup. The old wash tub and pitcher there. Lots of cool old retro stuff here. Now this looks like a kitchen of the 60s here. 50s and 60s kitchen. One of the first refrigerators with the reefer unit up there on top. Neat old sinks. I think that's probably an old vacuum maybe over there. 50s. Actually has the dates on the table. This is the 50s. All the pink stuff. Old rocking chairs. Got a toy store. Let's go in and look at some cool old toys. Wow, got the gumball machine and everything. tricycles, model airplanes and sleds, pedal tractors. Old wooden telephone booth. Remember, that's where Superman used to change into his Superman outfit, was always in the telephone booth. Ooh, an old radio station. This was an old switchboard for telephone here, it looks like. You would ring up the telephone at home and they would get a signal here and they'd plug in your line and ask you who you wanted to talk to, and then they'd plug in with somebody else. You had the different lines here that you would pull out and connect whoever you needed to connect to. Pretty neat. Bunch of old radios and phonographs. Nice old board there. Look at the old tubes. The old radios and television had these old tubes that you had to replace every now and then. I can see that one there's got the burnt spot. That tube would probably burn out. There's an old, probably a tube tester there or something. Really cool old radios. This would be like a transmitter unit for a radio station here. An old telephone booth, apparently from a local place, Conquest Implement. Older telephones. Kids, this is what your telephones used to look like. You had to put your finger in there and rotate the dial. And telephone numbers didn't used to be what they were. They used to have letters and every other thing in them. Now, I've never seen one of these before. This is a 20 gauge shotgun double barrel pistol. No thank you. Not that I wouldn't want to own it, I just wouldn't want to shoot it. Got the police department here with the retro police uniform, how they used to dress. Wanted posters, some old sheriff's outfits. Some old cop gear and the deal there. Complete with the jail cell. Doesn't look very secure. Apparently this is some stuff that was confiscated here locally. Guns and brass knuckles and throwing stars. Little sawed-off Ruger 1022. There's our prisoner. This stuff brings back memories. The prisoners in the jail used to make things out of gum wrappers and all kinds of little stuff. They would make things for their kids and their wives and stuff. They would make little boxes to store their stuff in out of playing cards and other kind of cartons and stuff. Little rings. They were pretty crafty people. All that stuff we'd have all that stuff in our jail. An old jukebox, complete with a 50s dude here. Here's the drugstore and soda fountain. Little chiclet machine. What was these here? Stoleworks. I wonder what that was. Let's see. Different flavors of something. Maybe it was gum. But lots of different medicinal stuff, all the old mortars and pestles. But they would take all these concoctions and make stuff out of them or use them for different things. Like an old apothecary type thing. Little drugstore tables with the little deals. You could get a soda. You're a little creepy there, girl. But they don't have an actual soda fountain deal in here. No town would be complete without a dentist's office. The old x-ray machine on the wall. Dr. Phelps Dentist. I wonder if they named Phelps County after Dr. Phelps. Here's that little tribute to the Prairie Fire, I guess, of 1879. A large fire started and burned 81 miles across the prairie. Here we've got some models, military equipment models. Used to love building these old plastic models. And a whole nother part of the building over here. This is appreciation wall for people that have probably donated to the museum, maybe. Got an old World War II guy complete with a parachute. This appears to be a military display over here. Different planes, uniforms, old military rifles from way back in the day, the 1800s, and on down the line. Lots of old war posters. Cool stuff. Lots of folded flags up there. I wonder if they're actual military death flags that people have collected and donated over the years. Pretty cool collection. There's somebody there with all their medals. Delbert Leffler. Pretty well decorated soldier there. Got all the different uniforms of all the different services. Very cool. It's always nice when they honor those folks that gave it all. Korean War veterans, probably from the area. Got crosses and name tags on all of them. Little plaque says in 1951, the Nebraska platoon was being formed, and there wasn't enough people from Nebraska, so they brought in some people from South Dakota and Kansas and joined up with the Nebraska 1st Platoon, 5th United States Marines. Trained in San Diego and went off to the war. It's got all their picture here and all of their crosses. So Atlanta must have been where the prisoner of war camp was, and they've got a room in here dedicated to that. So that looks like a representation of what the plant or the camp looked like. They've got a replica of the old tower outside. Can't be one of the old towers, all the materials are too new. But they've got a bunch of pictures around. So this must have been the camp in Atlanta. Pretty sprawling camp there. Said they brought German prisoners here from everywhere. Atlanta Prisoner of War Camp, United States Military Reservation. It's a big place. Every one of these dots represents a German prisoner of war camp, clear out to Ogallala. A lot of the German soldiers that were cooks and all other kind of things. They even had like an entertainment group. Them working in the kitchen there. There's the chow hall. Now, a lot of bad things come to mind when you think of prisoner of war camp, but I guarantee you any prisoner of war camp here in the United States was much better treatment than anywhere else in the world. Everything was kind of humane, and people were actually taken care of in our camps. They have a representation of what the barracks look like here. We had Japanese prisoner of war camps during World War II out in the area where I lived out in California. And there was a lot of Japanese people living here in the United States. Well, the government wanted to gather everybody up because they didn't know who they could trust and who they couldn't. They didn't know who were spies and who were not. So they just kind of gathered them all up and put them in the same place. My mom's uncle actually took over the farm for one of his Japanese neighbors and ran his farm while he was away in the camp until the war was over and they were all released. And everybody kind of got along back then. I mean, we didn't torture anybody in these camps or anything like that. They just kind of wanted to keep an eye on people. Boy, there's so much to see here. Here's some theater bleachers, lots of old trucks, cars, farm equipment up top. Look at this old windmill. That's one of the old wooden windmills there. Very cool designs. Lots of engineering went into those. They folded up when you didn't want them turning in the wind. They all had wooden towers. Lots of coaches up there. Some old Fords. License plates of all the counties. Got the numbers for all the counties up there. Old surface station replica with a visible pump there. There's a potato digger. An old planter. Old seed drills. Hay rake. Another old drill there. That's an old one, had wooden boxes on it. Little 2-row planter there. It's an old threshing machine there. Allman Brothers forklift. One of the first forklifts. It had a cable with a hydraulic ram there. Kind of lifted things back and up instead of straight up and down. That keeps your center of gravity over here so you're not tipping forward. Look at this old Alice Chalmers. Beautiful. Farmall H, bunch of Farmalls. Quite an impressive display. The old steam tractor, the old case over here. Another old threshing machine. Here's a Farmall H with a corn picker. This is a 2-row corn picker here. Rows were a little further apart back in the day. Here's an old binder, they called it. It would cut the whatever you were harvesting and put it in a bundle for the threshing machine. Now, of course, years after, they came up with what's called a combine that had this machine, this head with the everything combined with the threshing machine, and that's why they call them combines now, because it combined 2 or 3 different processes all into one machine. Here's a drilling rig here for drilling wells back in the day. Some nice old wagons. Old car with the car hop tray. I remember these. We used to go into A&W and they'd come put the tray on the window. manure spreader, old panel trucks. I didn't notice all the, they have the different county license plates all in a line up here. And they're all like the same year of plate. They're all the bicentennial plates, every single one of them. There's Custer County there, the Ford County. Every county has its own number. All the way, I think there's 93 counties. Here's a view from upstairs, and just this one building. Pretty wild, huh? Some old buffalo hides, some buffalo clothes. People relied on those buffalo hides to stay warm in the winter back in the day. They provide lots and lots of warmth. This is how you got around in the winter. You had snow sleds. This is what's called a damming machine. Whenever you had rows with crops in them, you could go through and put little checks if you weren't on really even ground. So you would run this on either side of the row, and this little blade here would pull dirt and make little dams in the furrows, so you could water little by little, so the water just wouldn't run down to the other end if you had any kind of slope ground at all. And then you would pull this, and you could trip this thing. It would flip around, drag for a while, and then it would flip around and drag for a while. It would make checks in your furrows. All kinds of cultivators and one-bottom plows. This is used for breaking sod. Cuts the sod and rolls it over. Sod busters used to use that. Here's an old press machine. Got some old wooden tools up on the wall. Hay rakes. Those are the sides up there that would actually catch the bundle as you cut it. And you could bundle it up, or shock it as they would call it. Vintage lawnmowers. Some old corn cracking machines there. Let's take a detour into the sports room. Lots of old sports memorabilia from the different high schools around the area. Here's the Holdridge Bears. Marching band stuff back in the day was a lot more fancy. Some old bicycles. Got their own Hall of Fame in here. Phelps County Sports Wall of Honor. That's cool. Some old lockers. Even got the picture signed. Win Peterson. This here's an old clamping horse here. If you wanted to hold something down, it's probably used for a specific purpose, but you would push that pedal down there with your feet, which would toggle this thing over, and it would clamp whatever you're working on right there in those jaws kind of thing there. Here's the old manual planters. You'd open them up, stick it in the ground, and close it, and it would drop one seed down there and plant it. And then the shellers up there would knock the corn off the cob. These were like either fertilizer bags or something. They were canvas. You carried them like on your bag, and this thing would sling stuff out. You could either seed or fertilize with them. Old corn husking hooks that you'd wear on your wrists. Put your thumb through it for husking corn. Lots of old planters. We have one similar to this at home. Some planes, molding planes, some draw knives, some more old horse-drawn equipment here. All well restored, kept inside. It's going to stay nice for years to come for people to see. Pictures of some old airplanes. They even got a picture of the old Civil War veterans. Pretty crazy. Some old hit and miss motors and some pump jacks. Pretty neat. Got a little diagram here of the river system. Look at that old stove. Beautiful. Some pictures of them combining and threshing out in the fields there. Looks like an actual picture. Here's how they used to run these old thresher machines. They'd have a tractor with the wheel on it that's an old steam tractor and a big old long belt. Turn that threshing machine. That's the most extensive barbed wire collection that I've ever seen. Look at some of this crazy barbed wire they used to have. All different. They even have the names on all of them. Some of it was pretty decorative. That's a lot of different types of barbed wire. Now this is a diorama of an actual farm. The Solomon Matson Farm. That's cool. It's even got the little river or canal running through it down there. Got the tool room over here right up my alley. Wow. All kinds of tools. There's an old hog oiler. Saddles. Here's the blacksmith shop over here. Remember our forge, just like that one there, we got to get our forge fixed up. Got the anvil and the bigger forge over there. See the giant bellows. We have one of these we're going to get going here pretty soon. We have to make this little gizmo here that advances that wheel as you turn, but we'll fabricate that for ours. Got the old buzz saw that would run off of a tractor with this giant blade, and then this carrier flops back and forth. You put your log in there and just run it in, and it cuts the end of a piece of your log off. It would run on, usually off a wheel off of a tractor drive wheel. Another old drill press. An old ring maker there. This is a ring that would be a wagon wheel ring. Woodworking bench. Very neat. Hardware and implement little area here. There's some old scales. I have one similar to this here. Big wall of tools. I've got most of those. Bunch of different saws and planes. More scales over here. These were just hanging scales here. You would hang it by this hook and put whatever you were measuring on this hook here, and then you would move a weight. And it would tell you by where the weight was how much something weighed. Neat. Here's some old wagon jacks. We have one similar to this one here. Some hay saws. Use those to cut through hay bales. A collection of old insulators. Your power poles used to have wooden pegs on them on the crossbars, and these would go down on those wooden pegs. A lot of them have like screw threads. The wooden pegs would have screw threads, and this would screw on there. And then your wires would go around this glass here to keep it from shorting out on the pole. It had some really big ones for big wires. A lot of people used to use these back in the day for planters and stuff. All right, I got to find my way back through here. I think I'm lost. This place is huge. All right, we made our way back to the post office. A collection of stamps up there. Let's go upstairs and see what's up there. Looks like different collections of different period furniture and old phonographs. What stuff looked like back in the day. That's one of your first TVs right there, folks. Black and white, probably. Got a collection of old TVs here. Really neat. That's how you used to have to tune your televisions right there. That's early rabbit ear television. Like an old psychiatrist couch there. Televisions were a lot cooler back in the days. Wooden cabinets, they had doors on them, so you know they didn't ugly up the room when you weren't watching TV. They looked like another piece of furniture. That was a television there too, believe it or not. You open those center doors, there's a television in there. Usually in the sides, they would have record players, yep. And then I believe this side over here would be like a radio. Yep. I remember those back in the day. We had one. I played records on one like this. And there was storage underneath for records and stuff. Some old radios. My mom had a little, what they call these vanities back in the day, where it had the little bench in the middle. You can sit and do your makeup and hair and stuff. And these little side wings here on the mirrors would fold in so you could get a view of, you know, the side of your head or whatever. It'd give kind of a curved view. But looks almost like one Mom had. This is a double wide kids bed. That's neat. Not long enough to be an adult bed. It's only about 4 feet long. Old rocking cradle there, crib. That's what your sleeping clothes used to look like back in the day. Maybe they just made these beds shorter so they would fit in the space, just to show off the headboards and the footboards. All this stuff brings back lots of memories. I've seen a lot of this stuff in the past. My grandma or somebody had a picture of that. I forget the name of that photo. Boy Blue or something. The old sewing machines, pedal sewing machines. A lot of people are taking these pedestals now and making really cool tables with them. Old toasters, heaters, fans, vacuums. More sewing tables. Old refrigerators and ice boxes. This is what refrigerators were before you had refrigerators. They were called ice boxes. You'd put a block of ice down in there and put your cold stuff in there. One of the first old gas stoves. Butter churns. 2.5 gallons that you could do in that butter churn. Some old school pressure canning. I've used one of these up till just a year or two ago before we got our digital ones. More gas stoves. That's a wood stove there. Don't know what this was. Some kind of roller, steam press or something. Old school washing machines. Irons, clothes racks. My grandma used to have a machine similar to this, an old Maytag machine. That's got an electric motor on it. Hers had a gas motor on it, and the little exhaust pipe would go out through the wall to make the exhaust go outside. Had the built-in wringer attached where you would pull clothes out of the tub, run it through the wringer, the water would go back down into the tub, and your wringed out clothes would go into the basket in the back. Here's some older models here, obviously. Old copper tubs. This tub would just go back and forth to agitate. And if you're really old school, you washed in this kind of tub here. There's one of your old metal irons. There would be 2 of these metal pieces. You'd keep one on your stove, and then the other one you would pull up on this little deal here, would disconnect it. You'd go pick up the hot one, put this one on the stove, pick up the hot one on the stove, and then iron some more. Here's some neat old cast iron. Look at this waffle maker here. Sits on the stove, and then it actually flips too. You pick it up, you can turn it, put it back down to cook your other side of your waffle. I guess they created what's called a stratosphere balloon back in 1934, and they launched it to 60,000 feet until the balloon failed and they were all falling to the earth. It was a manned mission. Here's what it all looked like. Those were the people in the balloon, but fell into a cornfield here in Loomis, right outside of Holdridge. Pretty neat. Here's this old school setup here. They got an old school bill that was donated from a local old school. They had the old heaters for the schools and the old desks. We had desks like this when I was in grammar school here. You could put it up as an easel or drop it down and pick up the bottom. You stored your books and stuff in it. Look at the old crayon pouch. And this is what the water cooler looked like, where you went and got a cup of water if you were thirsty. This is all the school districts back in the day. All the schools had to be within like walking distance for all the kids. So that made for a lot of schools. This is just one county here. And then every one of these sections represents a different school district that those kids would go to. But now this county's probably only got like 2 schools or 3 schools. We have a little schoolhouse just right around the corner from our house that used to be our neighborhood school. It's like another doll area. Check out this dollhouse. Any kid would love to have this dollhouse. My daughter Becky loves these old lounges like this. Baby carriages and kids' shoes back in the day. Look at these little tiny shoes. That's cool. More period clothing. Fancy schmancy stuff. Pretty retro. Classy ladies. Oop, sorry ma'am, didn't know you were in there. Got a weaving loom here for making blankets and rugs and all kinds of stuff. An old 1881 spinning wheel. They would spin thread and yarn. You can see they have either wool or cotton in here. And then these are called cards. And you would card it, get it all apart, and then spin it into threads. Had lots of settlers from Sweden in the Midwest area, so they've got kind of a tribute to the Swedish people here. Some of their period dress and some of the tools that they used, the big trunks they would bring their belongings in. Then got a diagram of Plum Creek. They had a fort, some ranches and some Indian reservations around. The settlers would come through on like the trails going west, and they would camp outside the fort for safety. Kind of a modern version of a teepee back in the day. But they would put these up pretty quickly. They had the wooden poles and all that. They would use animal hides and everything else to put these things together. And it provided shelter, and then the smoke could come out the top, and they had little ropes attached to where you could wrap that around and close that top up if it was really cold or snowy conditions or rainy or something. And there's the buffalo that used to be all over out here in the plains. American Plains bison. We have a buffalo ranch pretty close to where we live. Here's an old Sharps rifle they used to hunt buffalo with. Here's some fossils and bones found in the area. This was all an ocean at one time. So they found old seashells and all kinds of stuff. Some fossils down there. There's a woolly mammoth tooth. Some other bones and fossils. All right, we finally made it back to the gift shop area here. All right, we're done. We did purchase one of those books. It goes to help the museum, take care of the museum, and keep all this history alive. And I like history, and it's going to be a good read. Now, they're telling me that these buildings out here are period correct along with their furnishings, but they lock them in the winter months to keep the people from tracking mud and snow and everything else into the buildings. So we won't get to see the inside of those, maybe on another trip during the summer. Well, that's going to wrap this little tour, and I know it was a long video, but if you're like me, you watch it till the end because you love this old stuff. We can't get enough of history. So next time you see us, we'll most likely be back on the farm, and we hope you come visit us again. Until then, stay safe and stay healthy. We love you guys. We'll see you soon.
Hey! What are you doing? No touching.
No, I wasn't gonna touch it.
You're moving in with some ITT, bro.
ITT?
It's intent to touch, homie.
I wasn't. You're not allowed
You
to go
kiss
visit.
it?
All right. Sorry.
Put your hand on and touch it. Because I stand there and I wait all day for a little girl like you to come in and put her precious nail-polished nails all over the exhibit.